What's poppin', y'all? Post Malone, they went and dug up through his history and they found some damning evidence. Premonition, you could say. Because back in the day, way back in 2015, Post Malone tweeted out, "When I turn 30, I'm becoming a country/folk singer." And then somebody says, "You got plans to sell out already?" And he says, "Nope, just making the music I love." So if you guys are unfamiliar, Post Malone he's made it clear since when he first came into the game, and even with the style of music that he came into the game with, he was a big folk fan, a big Bob Dylan fan. He's from the Dallas, Texas area. His dad worked as like head of concessions at the Cowboys, which funny enough, this is how you know haters are so disgustingly dumb. They tried to say, "Oh nah, his dad worked with the Cowboys, so he's an industry plant." Two completely different industries. The guy was head of concessions. That's like saying, "Oh yeah, his dad worked at a marketing firm at Procter and Gamble. That's why this artist is successful." Just maniacal levels of stupidity. But it's actually kind of funny because initially Post Malone was doing a bunch of different type of music. Then he pulled up to LA. He was living with some Minecraft YouTubers, and he was still doing he was wearing like these short jean shorts and making just like a bunch of different types of music. And then he runs into FKI First. I don't know if it was Dre London or FKI First. That was the first one that he ran into. But they run into each other. They make White Iverson. FKI First, I think, drops it on there. I found it through Ill Roots. I think that was the first blog that posted it. Shout out to Ill Roots and Mike Wax. Absolute legends. Mike Carson too, but Mike Carson's still doing his thing. I don't know what happened to Mike Wax. That dude is MIA now. Please come out. DM me, Mike Wax. I'm really trying to hear some stories from back then, off the record. But now, Post Malone is fully country. He went through this whole hip-hop phase. I don't want to call it a phase, but I want to revisit the controversy that Post Malone had, because a lot of people have this incorrect view of Post Malone that disgusts me, because this is one of the most good-hearted guys in the game. I'm talking about every rapper, every producer that's ever interacted with this guy, even behind the scenes, they say he has nothing but a good heart. But he caught a bunch of flack for this clip I'm going to play you guys right now that was taken out of context. So I'm going to play you guys this clip, and this was an interview that he did in 2017 with Nuance, which was a Polish platform. It was a video published on Facebook, and then this quote started to be spread everywhere. So I'm going to roll the clip right now.
If you're looking to think about life, don't listen to hip-hop. There's great hip-hop songs where they talk about life and they really spit that rhythm. But right now, there's not a lot of people talking about it. So, whenever I want to cry, whenever I want to sit down and I want to cry, I listen to some like Bob Dylan. But whenever I'm trying to have a good time, stay in a positive mood, I listen to hip-hop because it's fun. I think hip-hop is important because it brings people together and you get a beautiful, happy way to everybody's happy.
So, what is the headline? The headline's going to be, and that's the headline that was on the fader, "If you're looking to think about life, don't listen to hip-hop." So the quote, just reading it again because the audio may not be the greatest, he says, "If you're looking for lyrics, if you're looking to cry, if you're looking to think about life, don't listen to hip-hop." That's all anybody saw. That's where they came out and hated on Post Malone. Why did they hate on him? I don't know. People were just hating on Post Malone off rip. I remember Anthony Fantano was hating on Stoney. He just hated on Stoney. Also, Earl Sweatshirt, and I mess with Earl. I'm not going to say I love Earl's music. Nah, I really don't. I think he's a great artist. I like his music, but nah, he's not comparing to Post Malone. He just came out and was hating initially. And I just think that the image threw them off. They didn't know if it was authentic. They didn't like it. Stoney was a great album that aged well, even commercially. I think first week it did 40-something K. I thought it did 16K. I don't know why I thought that. But regardless, people hated on Post Malone, so that's where they stopped. But he continued. And he was and then he would continue and say, "There's great hip hop songs where they talk about life and they spit that real ish." But right now, April 2017, do you guys remember the era of April 2017? What do we have? We had Smoke Perp, we had Lil Pump, we had Jumex, we had Baby Goth, we had, just name any piece of trash garbage rapper, which Smoke Perp and Lil Pump are a cut above Jumex and a Baby Goth, of course. Let me not disrespect those guys. But yeah, there was a bunch of garbage. Lil Xans, a bunch of garbage was floating around 2017, 2018. I mean, 2018, I think, is when we got Juice, so things got a little bit better after that, but there was a bunch of trash in between. I mean, some guy tattooed, his name was Zan Frank, tattooed Anne Frank on the side of his face. I wonder what that guy's doing right now. They need to catch up with him. Malone. So he said right now there's not a lot of people talking about that real stuff. And then he goes on to say, when I want to cry, I'll listen to some Bob Dylan. But in that same vein, he paints hip hop in a very positive light, especially at that time period. He says, whenever I'm trying to have a good time and stay in a positive mood, I listen to hip hop because it's fun. I think hip hop is important because it brings together people in a beautiful, happy way. Do you think anybody was quoting that tweet? Do you think anybody was spreading that around? Probably some of you guys that are listening to this right now are like, damn, I didn't even know he said that in that same interview 15 seconds later. Yes, of course you don't. That's why we shouldn't just jump to conclusions and judge somebody harshly. And the reason why I think he got judged so harshly is because people already didn't like the image surrounding him. And he would address the backlash from this in a clip I'm going to play for you guys right now.
Hey guys, it's Posty. I'm going to try and make this short, but apparently there's a lot of people saying that I don't appreciate hip-hop or that hip-hop has never made me feel anything, and I'm referencing this interview that I did in Poland while I was on the European tour, and it was a beer tasting interview, so they put a lot of beer in my face and asked me what kind of beer tastes good to me. So, knowing me, I drank it. And apparently I said that whenever you want to feel something, don't listen to hip-hop. And it's funny because who the f*** am I to tell you don't listen to this? And whenever you want to feel something, don't listen to this. Or who am I to tell you that you should feel a certain way when listening to something? What I was saying was that when I want to sit down and cry, I listen to Bob Dylan and his guitar. Just like everyone else, no matter how hard you are, no matter where you're from, you're going to have a time where you sit back and reflect on your life and you listen to what you want to listen to. For me, that's Bob Dylan. A lot of people saying that I don't appreciate hip-hop or I'm taking advantage of hip-hop. My last hip-hop album was hip-hop. My next hip-hop album is hip-hop. I love hip-hop. I make hip-hop. I want to take this genre, and stretch it so far that people who may not listen to it, listen to it. And, want to listen to the new artists whenever it's going on and just take everything for what it is. But, what I was trying to say is that a lot of people, except for a handful of artists, are saying the same shit. They're not saying anything super meaningful. And I'm 22 years old. I have not had all the life experience in the world to talk about the most meaningful shit. I just sing about what I have gone through, what's going on in my life, and what I want to sing about. Never once did I say that I don't appreciate hip-hop. And, I'm just trying to keep living and make the music that I love. Thank you.
And yeah, a bunch of people weren't trying to hear this either. But that's the thing. This is 2017. He was dropping hip hop. And if you even look and people say, oh, no, he's pop. And this is another thing with Post Malone. When there's a headline that's attached to him that is spreading negativity about hip hop by misquoting him or misleading quote about him without full context, he's suddenly hip hop. But when you say that he's a rapper, they were like, he's not hip hop, he's a pop act. So it's like, which one of them is there? And I'm going to bring in another example in a couple of minutes. But if you guys remember, this was 2017, like I said. Well, what did he drop after that? He dropped a couple of damn near hip-hop albums, like Beer Bongs and Bentleys. He dropped that after this. And on Beer Bongs and Bentleys, he had YG. He had Nicki Minaj. He had Ty Dolla $ign, who's a singer. He's hip-hop. He had 21 Savage. He had Sway Lee. Even after that, in 2019, when he dropped Hollywood's Bleeding, he had DaBaby on there. He had Future on there, who he loves. He had Meek Mill, Lil Baby. He had Travis. He had Sway Lee again. He had Young Thug. He gave Young Thug his first. I'm pretty sure that's Young Thug's only diamond record. Goodbyes is diamond. I'm pretty sure 21 Savage's only diamond record. The amount of diamond records that Post Malone has given to rap artists, I think Congratulations is diamond because it's in the diamond collection. I don't know if that's Quavo's only diamond record, but that's a diamond record. 21 Savage, Rockstar, Psycho with Ty Dolla $ign, that one's diamond too. Sunflower with Sway Lee. Sway Lee's feasting off that. That's diamond. Travis Scott has a bunch of diamond records, so we're not even going to count him. But that just goes. And he also brought Roddy Ricch on tour twice. He brought Tyler Yahweh on damn near every tour. He brought, who else was it? I think it was, yes, Ray Shremmerd. I think he's brought Ray Shremmerd and Sway Lee on tour twice. And we're talking global arena tours that he was doing. And then most recently, he's brought out Jelly Roll and these other guys, but that's when he's fully gone into his country bag. And me personally, I'm not going to say I don't like country Post Malone, because I've tried to be open-minded, and I've tried to get myself to like country music. Maybe I should listen to this F1 album by Post Malone, F1 Trillion, because if there's anybody that's going to get me to like country, it would be Post Malone, because he would, like he said, I'm trying to stretch hip hop to the point where people that wouldn't normally listen to it are listening to it. And like one of my favorite and most underrated Post Malone songs is Motley Crue. And I think that's a perfect example of it, even though I'm somebody that predominantly listens to hip hop throughout his entire life. But I think the opposite can happen with me. Maybe, yeah, I actually got to listen to F1 Trillion. But I've tried to listen to a bunch of country songs in the past, and it's just not for me. So I haven't listened to that album. The last one I listened to was Austin, which I thought was a great album. I don't consider this one a country album. Maybe some people, this isn't a country album, right? But the point is, this guy has shown a ton of love to hip hop. He's made nothing but hip hop. He's brought on rappers consistently throughout his whole career on tour that were smaller rappers that got a huge look from being on his tour. After he had been on tour with Justin Bieber brought him out on the Purpose tour, and that really helped launch Post Malone to the next level. And instead of just being a pop act or a pop star, he stayed within hip hop, gave a bunch of features out too. Like I said, gave diamond records to people that were actually, Havana might be a diamond. Havana's probably diamond too, and Young Thug was on the remix of that. So, or he was on the original song, wasn't he? I don't know. Young Thug was on some version of Havana that's diamond. So he actually might have 2 diamond records. Yeah. I don't know which one came first. But regardless, you guys get my point. So with Post Malone, I think this is the same, not the same exact thing, but MGK. MGK has just never said anything that could be misinterpreted to, look poorly on his opinion of hip hop. But MGK never got love as a rapper. He didn't. I mean, people like Young Thug, they appreciated him. They would work with him. But the majority of hip hop listeners, they were looking at MGK like, yeah. I mean, I never listened to MGK before Rap Devil. That was the first MGK song I ever heard. And it's because he just didn't hit my orbit. Like, I was listening to, when he was first blowing up, I was listening to what? Meek Mill? I was listening to Meek Mill heavy. Travis, that was a couple years later. Young Thug, a couple years after that. Yeah, it's like 2014, 2015. So I wasn't, Odd Future during that era too, 2012, Earl, stuff like that. Yeah, I was listening to everybody but MGK. I didn't even hear about MGK until like 2012, 13. But he just wasn't, I heard him from some girl. Regardless, once MGK goes to rock music, pop rock, which is something that he's always flirted with. If you look at the collaborations and the features that MGK has done throughout his career, even while rapping, people start hating on him and saying, oh, nah, he used hip hop, then he went to pop rock, which it's not even like he was welcomed within the rock sphere. People hated on him. He was one of the most hated there too, but the numbers were hitting like that. He was more of like a pop act there. Like I said, Tickets to My Downfall, I really, really enjoyed that album. Yeah, that was one of my favorite albums that dropped that year. Top to bottom, dude, I memorized that whole album. I mean, I can't recite it to you lyric for lyric now, but if there was a show, yeah, I'd be reciting the lyrics to that. So that happens, and then people say, man, this guy's not hip-hop, he abandoned hip-hop. He comes back, or he's still dropping rap tracks in the lockdown sessions, and do you think rap fans were like, damn, nah, he's spitting on here? No, they ignored it. And then he drops Hotel Diablo, which was in 2024, which was a rap album. This is after he had done his second album, which was Mainstream Sellout, which I think sucked. That was like the pop rock album. He does the album Hotel Diablo, where he's rapping on there. Do you think rap fans check that out? Nah, they didn't even pay attention. They probably were like, yo, damn, he came back. So that's my whole point with people like Post Malone, with people like MGK. I do think it's something that white rappers deal with. Like, for example, Russ, right? Russ has just consistently been a rapper, but the rap sphere, he never really got approval from the average rap fan. Like, sure, I think his peers have respect for him with his pen as well as with his ability to make songs that are hits. I mean, just look at the amount of plaques that he got. But most people are like, yo, who listens to Russ? But Russ has just never left the genre. If Russ did leave the genre, let's say he becomes a pop actor or something like that, which I don't think he'll do because he actually really, really just loves making the type of music that he likes making, they would say, man, this guy used hip hop and then he left. But it's like, you never appreciated him. You never showed him love. So how did he possibly use you? That's just this weird conundrum we're at, which I think happens a lot to, it's mainly a white rapper thing. Like, for example, like an Uzi gets backlash when he says, I'm not a rapper, I'm an artist, which I do think is fair, because like, what's wrong with being a rap artist? But they never get criticized for like using hip hop, which it does make a little bit more sense because white people didn't invent hip hop. And I don't think we have an Asian example of that happening because it's just so hard to break as an Asian artist. I mean, we did have Rich Brian, who pivoted out of rapping and is more kind of like alternative, indie, somewhat pop-ish, but he's not a superstar. So I don't think he gets the same level of criticism. I think he's just out of people's mind, and they're probably like, you ask the average rap fan, like, yo, you remember Rich Chigga? They're like, yeah, I remember that dude. What happened to him? Versus NMGK, his success in a separate genre is being put in front of their face, and it's unavoidable. But yeah, we just had to clear Post Malone's name. I do think it was really beautiful that he was able to switch and make the type of music that he's always wanted to make. I think he wanted to make hip hop too. But I mean, after making 7-8 years of that music, he's probably like, yo, let me venture into this genre that I've always loved since I was a kid. And while it's the hottest genre in the US currently. Somebody else that I think that has explored different parts of the genre of hip hop is Kendrick Lamar. And I've said that he's done that through his collaborations with Baby Keem, also reference tracks that he's laid down for Baby Keem, type of music that he wouldn't be able to put out himself. I think even with GNX, that's a little bit more experimental and off of the expected music for Kendrick Lamar to make up until Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. But to do it on your own name is very difficult. Like, there's a lot of scrutiny, there's a lot of criticism that can come from it. And when you've built up, I think Post Malone is just such a hit maker that there's nothing that he could do that people are really gonna be like, yeah, that guy fell off. You can't fall off. Post Malone is our generation. I'm telling you, I've said this before. He's the Beatles of our generation. Like, you got not just generational records. You've got century-defining records created by this guy. You know how people listen to the Beach Boys and all that still? Like from the 50s or so? I don't know the exact years. Up until the 90s and even now. That will be Post Malone's music. People will be listening to Congratulations in 2080. They will be listening in 2050. I mean, let's just take it 30 years, right? They will be listening to Sunflower in 30 years. They will be listening to Rockstar as well. He's got at least 10 songs like that. That is not easy to do. But yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see you on the next one.